Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today we continue to build decks led by the legendary creatures from the Final Fantasy set. Leading today's deck is my favorite character in all of Final Fantasy, Celes, Rune Knight. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Celes, Rune Knight is a 4-mana 4/4 legendary human wizard knight. When she enters, we discard any number of cards, then draw that many plus 1. Additionally, whenever one or more other creatures enter, if one or more entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. So I've gotten numerous requests to build this deck, and many of them requested that I not include the Murderous Redcap combo. Unfortunately, a commander like Celes means that everyone at the table will assume you're running the Redcap combo. So your opponents will treat you like you're running the Redcap combo. It's kind of like saying, don't worry, this is a nice Kalia deck, or my Miram deck isn't that powerful. No one believes you. So you might as well put the combo in. That being said, this is a $100 budget deck, and the combo does require 3 or more pieces to go infinite, so we are a bracket 2 deck. Now, to explain why Celes is my favorite character in Final Fantasy. Spoilers for a 31-year-old video game. Final Fantasy VI is my favorite Final Fantasy game. Full stop. I think it is the best in the series. The story, the characters, the gameplay, everything comes together in a crescendo that is unmatched. Honestly, I didn't play an RPG that was as good as this game until the original Knights of the Old Republic. Since the crew making this game was so experienced, the veterans at Square sat down and realized they could add more to the story and still stay on schedule. And so the world of Rune was added. This was done mid-development. The original finale of the game, the floating continent where we confront the Emperor and Kefka, was now a pivotal halfway point. Our heroes, united against a common foe, betrayed and lied to by both the Emperor and Kefka, confront them in an epic showdown, and lose. Let me repeat that. The heroes fail, and the world is destroyed. Kefka betrays the Emperor, kills him, and chucks his body off of a floating island, then steals the power of the Warring Triad and becomes a god, destroying the world in the process. I mention all this because the pre-constructed deck that Celes is from is based on the world of Rune. Final Fantasy VI is unique in that there is no main character. In 7, Cloud is the main character. In 5, it's Bartz. But in 6, we have an ensemble cast. Sure, Terra starts as the main character, but it isn't long until she's knocked unconscious, and Locke has to come in and save her. In the second half of the game, Celes is the one who reunites everyone. She's the driving force of the returners and helps get everyone back together. Okay, now that we've set the world up, I can talk about her. Celes is a Rune Knight capable of both magic and melee. She underwent a treatment at a young age by Cid, the chief Magitech researcher of the Gestalian Empire. The treatment implanted within her the ability to use magic. She served as a soldier in the Empire and eventually rose to the rank of general. Eventually, she speaks out against the Empire's cruelty, gets branded a traitor, and is imprisoned and tortured. This is when we first meet her in the game, with Locke coming to her rescue. He has a habit of doing that. Obviously, there are some trust issues between Celes and the rest of the returners, especially Cyan, who just had his entire kingdom, including his wife and child, wiped out by Kefka's poison. After sneaking into the Imperial capital to investigate the Empire's use of espers, Celes and Locke are caught by Kefka. Kefka lies to everyone and says that Celes is a double agent. Eventually, it comes to light that Kefka was lying and she and Locke continue their relationship. Do they end up together romantically? They never say one way or the other, but I'd like to think so. I want Celes to be happy. Celes, like all the characters in Final Fantasy VI, is flawed, haunted by trauma, but still trying to do the right thing. The reason she's my favorite character in all of Final Fantasy is that despite all the trauma, her identity was stripped from her and she went from a general to a prisoner, she still tries to do the right thing. She's not bound by someone else's morality or rules, she follows her own code. Later on, when offered power, she turns her back on it. Despite the betrayal and trauma, Celes has her pride and the willpower to carry on. But she still has a soft side. There are tender moments between her and Locke, but there's also the opera scene. Celes has to go undercover as Maria, an opera singer whom Setzer, a world-famous gambler who owns an airship, has threatened to kidnap and marry. So the heroes use Celes as bait and sneak on board the airship. The scene is lighthearted and fun, but shows a depth of storytelling that was unheard of back in 1994. Now, I mentioned earlier that we were going to be running the red cap combo, but since we're a bracket 2 deck, we're not running any tutors. So we'll need a strategy to win the game. And since Celes is my favorite character, that means we'll be using one of my favorite strategies: Aristocrats. Though, canonically, Celes isn't the type to sacrifice a bunch of people to get her way. She'd rather win with as few casualties as possible. So we'll want to look at reanimation effects, or maybe some of those lovely persist creatures. But before we get to our deck list, a quick word from our sponsor, Ultimate Guard. If you're planning on building a deck led by one of the spaced-out commanders from Edge of Eternities, you should probably pick up one of these lovely new Squareos boulders featuring characters from the delightful animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks. You can collect all of them, like this one featuring Divine Attendee. Pick yours up today at your local game store, or order them online from Amazon. Click the link down below to go to Ultimate Guard's Amazon store. In order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lanes and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm currently streaming over on Gaming with Daniel as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or Commander. Our land base consists of Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Nomad Outpost, Clifftop Retreat, Isolated Chapel, Dragon Skull Summit, Alpine Meadow, Snowfield Sinkhole, Sulphurous Mire, Sacred Peaks, Sunlit Marsh, Geothermal Bog, Radiant Summit, Tainted Field, Tainted Peak, Battlefield Forge, Caves of Koilos, Sulphurous Springs, Fury Calm Snarl, Shine Shadow Snarl, Foreboding Ruins, Boros Garrison, Orzhov Basilica, Rakdos Cranarium, Bojuka Bog, Susur Secundi Void Altar, 3 mountains, 4 plains, and 4 swamps. Not too shabby for a budget deck. For mana ramp, we've got Dark Ritual, Pitiless Plunderer, Solemn Simulacrum, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Talisman of Conviction, Talisman of Hierarchy, Talisman of Indulgence, Boros Signet, Orzhov Signet, Rakdos Signet, Mind Stone, and Chromatic Lantern. Some thematic, but mostly staples, which is fine. Never let anyone judge you for running staples. Our card advantage package consists of Zoophyte Osteoharmonist, Animate Dead, Savine's Reclamation, Sun Titan, Morbid Opportunist, Phyrexian Arena, Deadly Dispute, Big Score, Village Rites, Scion of Halaster, and Demand Answers. Some card draw, but also some reanimation effects. Yes, reanimation is card advantage. For interaction and spot removal, we've got Disenchant, Abrade, Anguished Unmaking, Boros Charm, Generous Gift, Fracture, Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Bedevil, Rakdos Charm, Chaos Warp, and Espers to Magicite. I really like that new card, and it's thematic for our deck. For board wipes, we've got Ruinous Ultimatum and Farewell. Wanted to keep our opponents in line some way. Our sacrifice outlets consist of Umbral Caller Zealot, Goblin Bombardment, Viscera Seer, and Carrion Feeder. For Aristocrat payoffs, we've got Mayhem Devil, Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, Weftstalker Ardent, Caesarian Voidborn, Ellis Core Sadistic Pilgrim, Cruel Celebrant, Marionette Apprentice, Impact Tremors, Bastion of Remembrance, and Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose. I know that Veto isn't technically an aristocrat, but we have a lot of effects that gain us life when a creature dies, so he's here to trigger off of those. Finally, the core of our deck consists of Timeline Color, Murderous Redcap, Putrid Goblin, Lesser Masticore, Puppeteer Click, Devastating Onslaught, Obstinate Gargoyle, Ephemerate, and Cloud Shift. Wanted some ways to flicker our commander. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 50 mana sources split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, right on target. 13 pieces of card advantage, counting our commander and land. 12 pieces of interaction. 2 board wipes. 4 pieces of graveyard hate in Boros Charm, Farewell, Espers to Magicite, and Bojuka Bog. 1 sudden I win card in Murderous Redcap. Okay, I suppose I should explain the combo, but before I do, I need to explain how counters work in Magic. There are several effects that put +1/+1 counters on creatures, and several more that put -1/-1 counters on creatures. If one effect would put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and another one would put a -1/-1 counter on that same creature, the counters nullify each other. The creature now has no counters on it. In other words, if a creature has 6 +1/+1 counters on it, and a -1/-1 counter gets added, it doesn't have a total of 7 counters, it only has 5 now. So when a creature with Persist comes back from the graveyard and has a -1/-1 counter put on it, and then Celes puts a +1/+1 counter on it, it now has no counters. So when it dies again, it comes back because it has no counters. So all we need to do to go infinite and win the game is a Persist creature, a Sacrifice outlet, our commander, and a way for the creature to deal damage. So that's a 4-card infinite combo. But Murderous Redcap fulfills 2 of those requirements, as does Goblin Bombardment. So if we have either one of those as part of our combo, we only need 3 cards. Some cards I wanted to add but didn't have the budget for were Warren Soul Trader as an additional way to get treasures, Necromancy for more graveyard shenanigans, and Ashnod's Altar for both a sack outlet and mana rock. That's only about $35 in upgrades, so not too shabby. Are you building a Celes Rune Knight commander deck? What's your secret deck tech? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my daughter Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgie, Nazwin, Conga, Robert Pye, Kazaris, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard, Sint, Boomy, Osira, Justin, Golden Walker, Captain Hammer, Yori, and Sleech. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.